Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you being here as always. Just a couple words about Minnesota, and then we'll move on, certainly. But again, just as I said Saturday night, just thrilled to get the victory. Great to be able to bring Floyd back with us, so that's always a good thing. And really, as I said the other night, just got down to us playing good football in all three phases. Special teams really did a great job, and just a lot of good play by everybody. So proud of the way the guys have hung in there. They've worked and shown improvement, and we really haven't had many easy games, that's for sure. And Saturday was obviously an example of that. So, and that really kind of transitions us into this week. We got back, ended up being fairly late, had some challenges at the airport, mechanical stuff and all that, but ended up being pretty late arrival. Went through the tape on Sunday, like always, and then switch gears, and our focus has strictly been on Nebraska since Sunday afternoon. Short week, so a little tighter window for our preparation, but so far so good. I think our guys are focused right now, focused on the right things, a little adjustment to the schedule. Fortunately, we've had a lot of experience in these types of games or the short week, so I don't think there's anything overly surprising. And looking at our opponent, they've been really, I think, impressive. If you consider the changes that have gone in the program, they've had a couple injuries, quarterback in and out. And, have just continued to play and compete and doing really well. Upgraded their roster over the course of the out of season. They got a lot of transfer guys and a lot of guys that are, dangerous, productive players. And but the biggest thing is they've really continued to compete. And I think all you got to do is look at back last week. Had a 14-3 lead on Wisconsin. Wisconsin really had to work hard to pull that out at the end, and we know firsthand how difficult it is to beat Wisconsin. It's never been easy. So, they're playing well. They're competing hard, and we expect a tough ball game here Friday. Needless to say, we got the same four captains switching over to us. We got Jack, Sam, Kayvon, and Riley. All those guys done a great job and kind of settled in there. Injury-wise, don't expect Sam or Monty to play. I just don't think that's realistic. So that's kind of where that's at. Positive news, we'll get Bo Stevens. He's back at practice today, so he'll be available. I don't know how ready he'll be. He's missed some time here, and he's a young player, so it's not like he's got a lot of experience banked up. But we'll go through and see what that looks like. And then, maybe as special as anything on Friday, have a chance to honor 27 seniors, as well as, student managers, assistants in the office, all that type of thing, but 27 players that have just done a great job throughout their career. And, it's always a little bit of a bittersweet thing. You see the players come out and meet their parents. It's always kind of an emotional deal for everybody involved. So that starts there, but I think beyond that, one of the cooler aspects, you have guys that are very well named or very well known, obviously household names, if you will, in our state. And then you got a lot of other guys, too, that maybe aren't as well known, and yet they're all very valuable. And whether it's Jack Campbell making a big play, or a guy like Tom Hartley, who's done a great job for 4 years here on the scout team and just helping us prepare, and that's something we talk to our players about. Everybody's got a role. If you're a good football team, you got to have a role, and I appreciate that role and do a good job. And I can say it about each and every one of the 27 guys that we have walking on Saturday. So that part's really good. And then beyond that, I say it every year, but just such tremendous respect for anybody that can run this entire race, because it's not easy. It's not like playing football 40 years ago. Time commitment's a lot more extensive. It's year-round, basically. We've had so many guys, injuries are part of the game, and it's hard to get through a career without being injured, and just so many things, just football-wise, not to mention, working to get a degree, despite your big time commitment towards the sport. And then the other part is just, our players, and all players are college athletes, are held to a higher level of scrutiny than most students. So, I just can't say enough about the respect I have for all 27. And it's, it'll be a special day from that standpoint. Just want to compliment those guys. And one thing unique to this group, you think about it, they all got here before COVID, so they experienced the COVID years, playing in front of people, or no people, those cardboard deals, getting tested daily, just all the crazy stuff that went on in that 20 season, and these guys experienced that. And they've seen the good and the bad, so hopefully this Friday will be a full stadium instead of the cardboard cutouts like the last time we played Nebraska in Kinnick. So just looking forward to that. And then the last two things here real quickly. Our kid captain is Dylan McGivern from Dysart. He's a 10-year-old with muscular dystrophy, and just so I understand he's a really positive young guy, great attitude, and our cheering squad's going to get a little bit bigger because his brother Brady, his mom and dad will be here, and I'm told 50 of his relatives are coming from all across the country, so it'll be really neat to have him with us as well. And last but not least, just wish all of you a great Thanksgiving. And if you're a football coach and if you cover football, your calendar gets a little screwed up when it comes to holidays this time of year, and but that's a good thing. But hope everybody gets a chance to just be with family and enjoy a good day. We'll do that Wednesday, and then again Saturday. So that's our schedule. But Thursday will be business as normal. I'll throw it out for questions.
Kirk, is Caleb Johnson going to be available? I thought he got dinged up a little bit at the end of the game.
No, he's fine. Yeah, he's fine. Yep, I'm sorry.
What's the severity of the injuries to Sam and Monty? I mean, would you expect him back for a potential game next week or?
Better news, yeah, better news. I mean, it could have gone either way. You just never know what to think coming off the field that night. But they both got tested yesterday, and I think things look about as good as they can. So we'll just take it a day at a time. But the door's open, but not this week.
Okay. What about Terry Roberts? I assume he's out again this week.
Yeah, he is. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
What has he, I guess, meant to this team? I mean, that's one of those seniors like you just feel for, I guess.
You do, because I'm not sure he's ever gotten back to full strength since last, whenever it was November, I guess, or maybe late October. And it's tough. I mean, he's tried, he's worked at it, and then he just shut it down here a couple of weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he's been such a spark player for us. Did such a great job on special teams, a real catalyst, and when he played in the defensive backfield, he's played well. So it's hard. It's hard, and I say it every time you talk about a major injury. It's harder on nobody more than the player, the individual, because of all the investment that they make to you only get 12 games guaranteed, and anytime you lose one or half of one, that's important. But it's really tough here because it happened at the back end of his career, and there's not next year. At least Jamari Harris has next year in front of him, and so it makes it that much harder. And it's hurt our football team, but more so it's really tough on the individual.
In talking to the players today, the implications of this game are what they are, but it seems like they're kind of like disassociated what this game could mean if they win from just winning the game itself. Is it difficult to do that as a team? How have you seen them kind of have a business-like approach?
I hope they can do it. And I skipped over that point, I guess. These guys are all college students, and they probably follow football more than I do, quite frankly, with the outside world. But I think we all know, what's at stake, what's possible, and all that. But yeah, my encouragement has been to them. Just we got to focus on this week purely. That's really all it's about. And that was really our attitude 5 weeks ago. Pretty much that was the goal. We had 5 games. And one of the points I made to him, you can do anything for 5 weeks. It's not like, so just let's make sure we're really focused on what we need to. Now we're down to 4 days, really. So, that's all that counts. And I do know this, if going back to the first one after coming out of Columbus, if we hadn't won that one, being in this position right now wouldn't be possible. So just try to explain to him, like, that game was really important too, just like this one on Friday is important. And I don't think anything's more important than the other in the big picture. So if you take care of what you're supposed to take care of, you might be fortunate enough to be in a good position. And, we find ourselves there now. The worst thing we can do is start thinking about things on the outside, other stuff, and we just got to worry about getting ready for a tough opponent.
You said earlier this year that when you came here from Pittsburgh, all you knew about the Big Ten pretty much was Ohio State, Michigan, which would have been Bo and Woody pretty much. You got to go against Bo 9 times as the offensive line coach here, but do you know anything about Amos Alonzo's stack?
Yeah, I've done some reading on him, a while back. I know he coached, I think until his 90s. I think he ended up coaching with his son out in California. And they ran, I shouldn't say they ran him out, but they decided it was time for him to quit at Chicago. And, I remember reading in Pride and Prejudice, or when Pride Still Mattered, I believe it was, they cited him, whatever year it would have been. Can't remember what he was making, but the whole faculty was just up in arms at the University of Chicago. So it's not like a new phenomenon, this whole market stuff. But the biggest thing is, like, he obviously is a really good football coach, and interesting story, and coached forever. But that's like all I know, and that's, football's a little different. Back then you had the University of Chicago, Carnegie Mellon played the Rose Bowl somewhere in the 30s, I think, so just put it all in perspective. But he had to be a pretty good coach, and had a coach for a while, that's for sure.
What can you tell us about Eli Miller?
Yeah, what do you want to know?
How did you guys find him?
Yeah, I mean, he's got an Iowa tie. His relatives and his dad, I think, were natives, and then ended up out in Colorado. And I don't know all the details how he got here. I'm glad he did. He's a really good student, like a really serious student. He's taking stuff I would never even dream of, and but he's just a really good young guy. Obviously, we got a couple senior fullbacks on our roster right now. It's one of the things this out of season talked about, like who might be a prospect to be the next guy. So he was kind of the guy we decided might be a good prospect. He's very quietly done a really nice job. It's a little unsettling not to have Monty, because he's one of our best players on our football team, one of our best leaders. Yet Eli does things in a way where you just have confidence. Like he's a really wired-in guy, and goes one speed. And we'll play him on Saturday, and I'm sure Friday, and I'm sure he'll do a great job.
Do you feel like you get a lot more 11 this week, maybe, with no Sam and then no fullback?
Yeah, it changes things. There's two guys that are, Sam is Sam, and arguably our best guy on offense, and then Monty can do so many things. He can play in different positions and help us, so it just kind of limits what we have to do, and we got to be smart about it. But the good news is Luke Lachey's just improved with each week over the last couple of years, and has done a good job. Stranga did a good job jumping in there, and we'll have to play him more, and we'll find a way to get it done. We'll see. I'll figure it out, and we'll adjust our personnel a little bit.
Kirk, it seems like when when you guys get together with Nebraska, throw out the records, last 4 years, I think it's been a single possession. Yeah. Is this something you've emphasized to your team?
It's like 5 points a win last 4 years. So, and most of them gone right down to the wire, and that's what you have to expect. That's how I look at it. And I mean, typically nothing's easy for us. That's kind of the way of life. So, it's just a way to find a way to win at the end. And we're expecting this to be a real tough game. I mean, they've got some good players.
How would you describe Jack Campbell's importance over the last few years to this defense?
Yeah, I mean, he's an exceptional player and an exceptional team member on top of it, and that's, to me, where the double value is. And that's what good players do. Like, they not only play well, but they also make the guys around them play better. And he's definitely done that. And I just whether it's on the field, off the field, away from the building, it's not hard to like everything he does. He's just a top-notch guy. It was great to see him. I guess he's a finalist in the Buckus Award, and that's really neat and great. And I'm sure the other 4 guys are outstanding too. But he's a special player. He just kept getting better. It's kind of like his high school basketball career. I always joke about that, where it took him 4 minutes to get 5 fouls as a sophomore, but then he became a pretty good high school basketball player on a really good team. He's done the same thing in football. He just improves with every opportunity, but he's just a leader because of who he is. I think everybody just respects so much who he is and how he does things.
You've sent several linebackers to the NFL. You've got Josie Jewell up there on that wall. How does Jack compare to guys like that?
He's, without knowing every guy up on that board, Tip was kind of a, rare. I mean, NFL Hall of Fame player. And he was a rare guy back in 1981. But outside of that, Chad Greenway's a pretty good player. Josie. We've had a lot of good guys, and Jack fits in with pretty much any group you could find. The difference with Andre Tippett weighed about 260. Like, he's a huge and a really good player, but a huge man too. So a little different class, different era, and all that stuff. But boy, anybody up there is pretty good. And Jack's not up there yet, right? But I'll go on a limb and say he's got a chance.
Any favorite moments or memories of Jack?
Yeah, probably. It's going to strike you odd, but I mean here. First thing I think about is going to watch him practice basketball his senior year. It was one of the best practices I've ever attended in any sport. Like, it was really impressive. The whole group was just really wired in. Greenway's same thing, ironically, and that included 8th graders. But just the team chemistry, the way they operated efficiently, it was just a really impressive practice. Not that I know anything about basketball. And again, you can see the same dynamic with him, with younger players and all that kind of stuff. There's so much to the way he operates. And he's had a lot of good ones here. I don't know about a favorite one, although that pick the other day might be right at the top of the list, and he kind of got, I don't want to say cheated, but like, he had an opportunity for a touchdown that didn't materialize. That's too bad.
There weren't any penalties called, as I'm sure you know. Going back over the tape, I'm sure you saw a few that maybe should have been called.
My wife reminded me of that when I got home. As late as it was,
Yeah.
she was a little bit amazed by the lack of holding calls.
Yeah.
I won't go there, but that was her saying that, not me.
In a cold weather game like that, or even a bad weather game, do officials ever kind of come up to you and go, "Look, guys, we're not gonna"?
No. And I'll be honest. I mean, I was not aware of that statistic. I knew there wasn't much going on, but not no penalties. And you guys told me it was 86 when the last time that happened. So it's rare, but the game was going pretty well. And from my vantage point, outside of a couple of things, there's always a couple of things that I thought the crew did a good job. And I don't know if the weather factored in there or not.
With the amount of replays that for spots on 2nd and 3 and stuff like that, do you think that there needs to be an emphasis on don't blow the whistle now that
Yeah, and they pretty much do that, I think, on like ball carriers typically, to make sure, so yeah, and I don't know, I've changed my opinions on replays. I was in favor of them at one point, and now I think they're like really hurting our game almost in some ways. So I don't know. It's a whole different deal.
How would you evaluate offensive coordinator the last 4 weeks? It seems like there's a lot less complaining out there in the world, but I mean, it's like making the most of what you've got essentially, or what positive have you seen?
Yeah, I'll whiffle a lot of stuff till maybe the season's over, but I think the big thing is we've gotten better as a team with each week, and we've talked a lot about the line. The line had a setback 2 weeks ago, yet they bounced back last week and really competed hard and competed pretty well. So, I think I just kind of look at the whole picture. Coordinators are important. I'm not minimizing them in any of the 3 phases, but it still gets down to players, doing things that they're able to do, and that's kind of, you got to be realistic about who you have and what their experience levels are and things like that. And those are the things I'm always thinking about before I, formulate an opinion about something. And ultimately it's about finding a way to win, and we've been able to do that the last 4 weeks. Hopefully we can do it for 5.
On that note, on the O line, do you expect the same 5 starters then, even though Bo Stevens is back, or will be a rotation?
Yeah, no, okay. I was going to say, remind me who started last week, but okay. So I think it'll be the same, and it'll be good just to get him back, for depth purposes. If he were a 5th-year guy, maybe he'd be right back in there, but he's still so young and still learning so much on the job. So, I think the 5 guys we have, and the good news is, we were really thin last Saturday, so at least we get somebody back who we can put in the game, and we'll just keep pushing forward, and hopefully we keep getting better.
What have been your impressions of Ostrenga in his development since he got here?
As I said the other night, he's one of those guys that pleasant surprise isn't the way to say it, but you're never quite sure what's in a box when you open it up. And everything about him's been very impressive. Everything. What he does on the field is one thing, and then but how they handle the training, how they handle their academics, feedback you get from academic folks, anybody that interfaces with the players is important to us, and everything's just so positive. So he's and maybe most impressive, and this is really true for younger guys. Some guys just don't seem to be overwhelmed. They maybe should be, but they don't act that way. And he's kind of done that in practice. Like he's taking shots from guys like Campbell and some of those other guys, and he just gets up and keeps going. So that's an impressive thing, and he's kind of handled everything. But the more you play him, the more things are apt to pop up or whatever. But he seems to have the mental toughness where he can handle some disappointment and come back and go back to work.
It seems like Rhodey is kind of stepping into his own as of late, especially down the stretch. What have you seen that's impressed you and just kind of...
I don't mean to smile or smirk, but it's amazing when you practice, like actually practice, and do it on a routine basis, like improvement follows it. And that was part of our challenge. We really never got to see Brody up until September. This year we saw him for, I'll have to go back and count how many practices it would have been last, bowl preparation, but that's basically been our window. So he had the hand injury a year ago. We didn't have him at all in the spring. He didn't do anything June, July, August with us due to injury. So it was, I think our first game week was his first week on the field. And to think you're going to start playing major college football at a real high level, just walking in, it doesn't work that way. But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. With each week, he looks more comfortable, and he's making plays. He made a really tough catch the other night, which was a really big play. Then, wasn't a, big, 20-yard gain or something like that, but it was a huge play conversion. And it took real focus and concentration. He beat his guy on a tough type play. So to me, that's just a result. He couldn't have done that 10 weeks ago in my mind, but now he's getting it going, and we've always been really high about him. He's a great young guy, just awesome guy with an awesome attitude. But if you're injured, you can't do anything. It's just hard to get better if you're not working. It's rare a guy can just walk in and be a really good player. It just doesn't work that way. And Caleb's been the same thing. He is a freshman, but with each week we see him getting better. Not that he doesn't blow stuff every now and then. Like there's a play I'm thinking about the other night. Kind of killed a drive. I mean, more than killed it, buried it. I mean, it was like, wow. But we'll keep working with him. He's a great kid. No, sorry.
How would you assess Sebastian Castro's progress and development this year?
Different story because it's been, a couple of years in the making. But, we really liked him in high school, wasn't really highly recruited. Tough, competitive guy, and we thought he had a chance to be a good defensive back. And this wasn't exactly planned, his, immersion into the lineup, but just with our depth situation, he was the next guy up, and he's really embraced it and done a really nice job. So, just happy for him. And that's what the whole thing's about is, just keep working. And when you're called upon, like Jamari Harris a year ago, jump in there and do something. And there's two guys from South Chicago area that have both done a pretty good job when the opportunity to present themselves. And they're both really good guys. So it's really helpful.
Kayvon Merriweather's had probably one of the more unique careers. I mean, just from being under-recruited to starting, getting injured, redshirting, basically being one of the biggest vocal leaders on the team in 2020. Yep. I guess just from your vantage point, how valuable has his leadership been over especially these past 3 seasons, and how would you just describe him, just what he means in the locker room, but also just the Iowa State community has really seemed to embrace him?
Absolutely. And outside of Brody, like the guys we're talking about really weren't recruited very heavily, and Kayvon fits that bill too. And then to your last point, I would circle back. That was one of the things that really attracted to us to him. Good basketball player, good athlete, and I really think a lot of things are transferable if a guy's got the toughness, mental toughness, and doesn't mind getting smacked around or trying to smack other guys. So it's a little different than basketball that way, but. His personality and his mom, they're just really great folks, and that jumped out at us immediately. So, you're recruiting people, not just players or positions typically, and so I don't think it's a huge surprise, but the credit goes to him, just like all the other guys we're talking about, because again, it gets back to doing that work, and he's done that, and he's also embraced being a leader, and I've always appreciate that. You talk about Jack Campbell and Kayvon, and I think that's one of the reasons we've been good on defense. We've got guys at every position. Not that they're all the same, but Kayvon's definitely a veteran. Him and Riley are the two veterans in that group. Up front, you got Noah, you got John Wagner, you got Joe Evans, and then the linebackers, we got a couple guys. So that'll be walking on Saturday. So they got that kind of leadership and those kinds of guys in every position group, where they impact that room individually, but they also impact the room when they're all together, or our whole team. That's how you build a winning team, and it's just, you got to have the right guys, though. And it's, really, we all appreciate that.
Among your seniors, I'm sure you have some who maybe are contemplating, you're contemplating bringing them back, they're contemplating coming back, but, senior day, do you just encourage everybody to walk and then worry about it, or how do you plan to go through that?
Yeah, we really haven't had those conversations yet, so... As far as I know, there's no NCAA rule yet about, if you walk, you're ineligible from there and on, as long as we don't give them like $1,000 or something on the way out. But, so we just encourage them to do that. They can always change their mind, or if they have second thoughts, that'd be, definitely worth a conversation. But we'll have a couple of those down the road. But right now, just go and, be honored. Who knows, next year we might have a pandemic again. I shouldn't even joke about that, right? That's not funny at all. Yeah.
Back at Big Ten Media Days, in those videos that all the coaches do, you mentioned offensive yardage being the most overrated statistic, and now you've won back-to-back games despite not having the advantage in that stat. What's your rationale for why that's overrated?
Well, I'm not against it, first of all, just for the record, but, Yeah, Bill Russell said the other night, the most important stat's winning and losing. Like, that's the most important one. Then the next most important one, in my opinion, is turnovers and takeaways. If you're looking over the long haul. And, so that's where it all starts. And then probably somewhere, it's points scored, points against, which ties into the goal number one or the most important stat. So, you just you try to navigate the terrain based on, where you're at, where your team's at, all that kind of stuff. And not against getting yards and certainly not against getting points. But sometimes there's, things that comes with that. And, everybody lives in a different world. But I'd even venture this, that, when you get to January, whatever it is this year, when the last two teams are playing, that turnover takeaway is going to be probably more important than the yardage thing, unless you can just, outdistance your opponent by a couple hundred yards on the board. Obviously, you got a good chance to win. But at the end of the day, it's about figuring out a way to win the game. I think that showed up the other night. Somehow, some way, we forced a couple turnovers, and that was the difference in the game, really. And we did a good job protecting the ball, being smart when we had to be, and coming up with what we had to come up with. So, really, my thoughts haven't changed a lot in 23 years, and it started well before that. You're thinking about what is it that's important, and we're all shaped by something, right? We're all shaped by our past, and the people I've been around and had the good fortune to work with have impacted me a lot in terms of the way I look at the game.
Coach, forget my interest, but could you elaborate on what the plan is for, celebrating Thanksgiving?
Plans? Yeah. Well, tomorrow night we will do a really nice dinner right here. Players' families won't be here, but our families are going to be here, and so it's a real nice opportunity to have fellowship with each other. I will highlight tomorrow's meeting, just some quotes, kind of ring true about, what the holiday's all about, and just, giving thanks, really, and being grateful for the things that we have. And, worst case scenario, we all got a pretty good deal going, compared to a lot of other folks. So, just echo that a little bit. And then Thursday will just be like a Friday for us. Friday will be a Saturday. And then one nice thing about playing on Friday is, it gives us Saturday off to have, be with our families, and our players might have that same opportunity. So it's a great deal. It's the best holiday going, right? You get good food and you have to bring gifts. So it's a hell of a deal. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thanks, you too.